Welcome to another episode of Dad Up, everyone. Thank you guys very much for joining me on this episode. I have my good friend Erik Allen, and Erik and I have been connected for quite a while, even though we've never met. And that's what the joy is of social media and being able to do these kinds of discussions. But he lives up north in Idaho, and I'm here in California. We've never met, but he and I have been really close. We've been really good friends for a couple years now. I've been on his show a couple times. This is now his second time on my show. So I'm really excited to kind of dive in and catch up on what he's doing. But my good friend Erik is on the show. Welcome to the show, brother.
Oh man, so awesome to be back on the show, dude. Truly an honor to be part of your circle, man. And yeah, man, you're an awesome friend to me, man. So I appreciate you.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. And you're same for you, man. Um, gosh, I mean, did we just stumble upon, following each other on Instagram? I think that's kind of how it worked, right?
I believe that's how it worked, how it turned out. Yeah, for sure, dude.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Um, well, for my listeners, my viewers, I'm not going to do kind of a backstory on Erik
sure.
because you guys can go to the previous episode and watch it. And he goes into a big backstory about him and how he grew up and all that kind of stuff. We're not going to dive into all that because I want to find out what's going on with him lately. And I know he's got a lot of things on a lot of balls in the air that he's juggling right now. And so I'm curious to get into all that.
Yeah.
So what's new, man? What's going on?
Man, coaching baseball right now, summer league ball. It's always fun, and so I love coaching. I've coached little league for now for 6 years, but this will probably be my last year coaching. He's starting to get up into the competitive leagues where I kind of will sit back and just be a parent for the remaining years. But it's fun to get out there and coach, man. So doing that, and then continuing to just put out podcast episodes, man, and really deep diving into my guest of their journey with Jesus, man. Like how are people connected with that and how they balance that relationship with Jesus and doing business and having a family and all of that stuff, man. And then still working with brands doing user generated content like videos and stuff like that. And the latest brand I just worked with was Pelican Coolers, man. Really excited to work with those guys. And I always love getting free stuff. And if I can make money off of doing videos for people, I'm always up for it, man.
That's awesome. Gosh, the Little League thing brings me back to so many memories because I mean, as you know, I coached for so many years,
Yeah.
not only in Little League, but also basketball, football, all the way up through high school. And
Wow.
how old is your son, and what I guess division is he in?
So he's 11, and in Little League, they consider it AAA, and he played AAA the last 2 years, which I think next year he'll go into majors, which is, I think, just basically 12-year-olds and really good 11-year-olds or whatnot. But so he'll be majors next year. But right now, this summer, we just started Parks and Rec baseball. It's kind of more of a fun, real chill league. The rules are real laxed and things like that. So I finished coaching Little League and then jumped right into summer ball. We got 10 kids on the team, and it's fun to do, man.
That's cool. Yeah, AAA is a little bit more competitive than Double A and Single A, obviously.
Yeah,
And you have kids that in AAA actually know how to pitch
right.
that are really good.
Yeah,
And then obviously they understand the fundamentals of the game. And typically it's just a matter of helping them get better, improve their craft at playing baseball. But yeah, I mean, gosh, bringing back so many memories. And I coached. I think before we started recording, you said you were probably going to stop after this year.
yeah.
I had coached all the way up through majors, so
Oh wow.
we carried and we with the exception of a couple kids,
Sure.
I carried the same kids from T-ball all the way up through the majors. So
Oh wow.
it was, and I was actually a board member too. So we
That's
had a
awesome.
few of us that were coaches that were on the board, and we all knew each other's teams, right? So we
Yeah,
would just go, all right, Bryan, yeah, you can go ahead and take your guys. I'm going to take my guys. We just take the same guys because you can't do that in real life, right? I mean, in real
right.
little league draft, there's
Yep.
people in there and they're picking players, and sometimes you lose players. I did lose some players because we didn't have, not everybody that was in those draft meetings was a board member,
Sure.
and they
Yeah.
didn't really know who we were. So but
Yep.
for the most part, I got most of my guys every single year, and it was a lot of fun. And we went to the championship game twice and lost twice. So
Okay. All right, man. Yeah.
but I have phenomenal coaches, which I'm sure you do. I was the head coach. I had a guy who played college baseball. I had another guy who played for the Angels. He was my pitching
Come on.
coach. And uh, gosh, and then a couple other guys that were just kind of helping, dads helping out, and they were really knowledgeable in the sport. But it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun, a
Yeah.
lot of memories. Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily miss it
Yeah,
because
sure.
I
Yeah.
did so many years of coaching, but
Yep.
yeah. So for you, when it comes to coaching, how is that
Mhm.
aspect? Because I know a lot of dads really fear or are scared to coach because of the relationship with their child. And
Mm.
I know that can be a struggle for a lot of dads. It wasn't for me, but
Yeah.
a lot of dads do ask me that. How did you get through that with coaching your own kid? So let me ask you, how are you managing that with father-son relationship as a coach for him?
I never try to put too much pressure on him. And my son's a pitcher. He's really good. I would say he's improved over the years. I've been coaching him since T-ball. He's been coaching the last couple or pitching the last couple of years. And it's just been fun. The pressure for me isn't about like over pressuring him. It's like, hey, bud, what position do you want to play? Cool. Let's go out there and let's try to get better at that each time. So he does pitching, he does short, and he does third. He kind of rotates between second base as well. But it's fun to see him improve. I think the parents might look at it and go, well, that's the coach's son, so he gets to pitch, or that's the coach's son, and so he doesn't have to sit on the bench. And I don't base the bench or the play time off of my son. I base play time off of attitude. You could be the best player on my team, but if you're slamming bats or throwing helmets or anything like that, man, I'm benching you. And I've told the parents that every day since, the first practice. Hey, I don't put up with winos. If you're going to come out on my team and you're going to cry and throw fits, then you're going to be benched the whole season. And I just tell him that up front. And my son knows that. So he goes out there with this attitude of like, win or lose, we're going to go out there and play hard. And it was really cool this season where we did get to the playoffs, or we had an ability to get to the playoffs. A lot of stuff had to fall into play for us to get there. And we had to get this last win. And I just remember my son come up to me and he said, Dad, today, win or lose, we're still going to praise Jesus. And for me, that was just like this really exciting, awesome dad moment that he said that. Like, and we ended up losing, but it was just like this fun moment for him. And like I said, he's a pitcher. He had two games this year where he had 13 pitch innings or 13 pitches in a single inning and closed out the guys, and that was just really fun to see. And so he goes out there, he plays hard every time. I like the aggressive kids. And so it hasn't ruined that dynamic. I love being to play wiffle ball with him every day in the backyard. We've got a net and doing off the tee and stuff like that. So from a dad perspective, I actually love to coach my son. I'd say I was never the best baseball player. I played all stars one time, but I love the game, and so I love to see the excitement about it. So it's fun to coach him.
Oh, that's good. A lot of dads do struggle with that. And I think,
Yeah,
you know, the fact that your son said that too, win or lose, let's praise Jesus. I mean, that's gotta hit home, and made you feel really good. So
for
it
sure.
shows that you're doing the right thing, Dad.
Yeah,
So
thanks.
gosh, I remember, you bringing up, I was the same way as a coach. Look, I told parents, and I never had an issue with parents. Like parents were really good for me throughout all the years. I mean, they just accepted what I did, and
Yep,
I was fair. I was reasonable. I didn't favor not even my own son. There were
sure,
times where my son was either on the basketball court or on the field, and if he wasn't performing, guess what? I pulled him out. I literally
totally.
pulled
You
him
got
out,
to. Yep.
and I'd get an earful from my wife after the game, but I'm not there for my son. I'm there for the team.
Yeah,
And my son has
totally.
to realize he is there for the team, not himself. So, excuse me. So I wanted to bring up something you had mentioned about attitude. And attitude
Yeah.
is so important when it comes to, especially our kids when they're starting to hit those preteen years.
Yep.
Attitude is really important. And I remember a time I was the same way. I don't put up with that kind of crud, none of that. And I
Yep.
remember a time I had one of my better players. He had struck out. He came in to the dugout and literally threw his helmet.
Yeah.
And I was standing at the first base. I was the first base coach. And I look back, I'm like, what the heck was that? And
Right.
it was him. And
Ah.
so I came out that inning and I said, hey, don't ever do that because you're gonna hurt somebody if you do that. And
Yep.
we're just not gonna accept that. So please don't
Yep.
do that again. Right. Next time up to bat, strikes out again, comes
No
into the
way.
dugout and did not throw his helmet. He threw the bat.
Oh, jeez.
And I said, okay, that's enough. I went, hey, do me a favor, go out and sit with your mom. He's like, what? Well, for how long? I
Mhm.
go, the entire game. You're done. He's like,
Yep.
what? So then he goes out, sits with his mom. His mom's looking like puzzled, like a little frustrated look on her face, like, what's going on? They stayed. And then after the game, I went up and told her what was going on. And she goes, okay, that makes sense. Yep, I
Yeah.
agree with your decision. So
Yeah.
um,
It's
sometimes,
all about attitude, man.
yeah. And attitude comes into play too when we're talking about kids that aren't performing well or when your
Right.
team is not performing well and you're losing, right? Because kids are
Yep.
generally, especially boys, are generally very competitive. And
Yes.
I'm a competitive coach. I love to win. I hate losing. I know you're a competitive coach, but attitude, how do we address attitude with kids when they're going,
Mm.
they got these hormonal changes going on, young
Yeah.
preteen, they're very competitive, they're playing on a sport, they want to do well, they want to show off, all those kinds of things. And then they don't. And then there comes the attitude. How do you
Yeah.
as a coach address that?
Man, I started from day one. So very first practice. And even before the practice, I'm emailing the parents and I'm saying, hey, here's things that I don't tolerate. Bad attitude, bullying, throwing fits. If you do any of these three, I'm gonna bench you. And then the first practice, I really just pull the kids into a circle and we get on a knee and I go, look, hey, we're here to have fun. We're here to be safe. I need everyone to have a good attitude. We're all going to strike out. We're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to mess up. And we need to accept that and just learn from it. And then you step into it and you do it better next time. But we can't throw fits. We need to have good attitudes. One thing that I really am like impose on the kids too is we need to be respectful to the other team because there's a lot of times where we're playing and they are that competitive mindset.
Mhm.
And one thing that I will never put up with is if our team is like we're going through and we're saying good game, we're like, man, we beat you and we beat you down. And I'm not doing that. I'm like, every time we win or lose, we're going into hand high five, good game, good game. We're being respectful. And if they're not, I'm going to pull them right from that, at that end of the game, I'll pull them to the side, talk to them, and I'll bench them the next game. And I've just told them that up front. We have to have a good attitude. Let's show people respect, and we're here to have fun. And just know that we're all going to make mistakes and learn from them, and we move on. One of the kids on my team this year for summer ball, amazing attitude kid. Kid can't throw more than 7 feet. Like he just cannot. And he's heavier set kid. Wants to play the catcher position, wants to be, on first base, just can't move. I mean, super slow, but has the best attitude, encouraging players all the time. Oh man, that was an awesome hit. Oh man, good job picking up that ground ball. Like, I love his attitude, and my son is connected with him, and they've really become good friends. But it's just the guy physically can't play that well. But I love his attitude. So yeah, you want to play first base? Sure, I'll put you on first base for an in, man. You can go learn. But you know what? You just have to, if they have a good attitude, I'm going to put them wherever they want to play, except for pitcher because he couldn't make it to the plate. But other than that, I'm all about it, man.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah, I mean, I had the same thing with my boy. My boy was he moved around from pitcher to first base to catcher.
Okay.
And we were running short. He didn't play catcher a lot, but we were running short on players for an upcoming game. And one of my coaches said, hey, let's get Brett in there to catch. Because we knew that he could throw. We knew he could throw down to second base. So that's
Yeah.
what we were looking for. And we start working with him and we're like, okay, it's a little bit of a struggle. But he's getting the hang of it. And then we start, we go into a couple more practices before the upcoming game. And we're realizing, okay, balls are getting past him, the balls that get past him as a catcher, you have to get up, right, and go after the ball and get the ball and throw it where you need to throw it. Well,
Yeah.
he was not very fast at doing that.
Okay.
And I had to gently tell him, hey, you know what, kid? I like you better at first base or pitcher. And
Yeah.
he was totally fine with it. He's like, Dad, really? I honestly, I'm not a big fan of catcher, so I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he ended up, I mean, he even pitched in high school. So
Wow.
he played a couple years in high school, and then decided he was done. Decided he didn't want to play baseball anymore and just focused all his attention on basketball and ended up getting a basketball scholarship and all that kind of stuff. So, I
Come
mean,
on.
it works out. But
Yeah.
I agree with you. Attitude is everything. And that
Yeah.
goes not only for them as kids, but for us as adults. And for us as
Totally.
adults, we have to have the right attitude and to show them, because they're watching us, right? They're
Yep.
seeing everything we're doing. And even you as a
Yeah.
coach have all these little eyes on you, right? And they see your attitude. They see
Yeah.
how you reflect with the other players, the umpires, the fans, right? We've had plenty of times when I was coaching that I had to make sure my attitude was in check. And I had to
Mhm.
allow my coaches to kind of take the burden of getting frustrated with umpires and going after them and all that stuff, because I knew I was the head coach and the players had to see me acting the right way.
Yeah.
So it was super important for me to have the right attitude because I wanted my boys to see that as well. Um,
So important.
I'm sure that you have the same kind of mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I am that example out there, right? And so I want to make sure that I am showing these boys, because some of these kids, they don't have father figures, man. Some of these boys that I'm coaching, they don't have a stable home. The kid I just talked about, that's the slower, kind of physically but great attitude kid. He's in a very broken home situation. But my job is to, make sure that he is loved and feeling encouraged while he's there. And so they're going to see me go up and say, hey, thank you to the umpires. They're going to see me have great conversations with the opposing coach. They're going to see me high-fiving the other kids on the other team when they do a good play or cheering them on. That's how I coach is, hey, if I'm a third base coach and the third baseman just like snagged up an amazing ground ball or caught a line drive or something like that, like I'm high-fiving that kid. Like they're seeing me give encouragement to everybody else, even into the audience, right? Like I want to have a great attitude. One, because I don't want 15 parents to come up to me after a game and say, man, you had a bad attitude or you shouldn't have said that or, things like that. Like I want to have a great relationship with them. And so if I can be a good example for these players, man, hopefully they can take that beyond baseball. And I look at baseball much more than the game. It's like you said, it's attitude, but it's how we treat each other on and off the field that makes the massive difference. And I just want to be that guy who could just pour love into these kids when I got them in front of them. And you know what? They're going to strike out. I'm going to high five them and say, hey, we'll get them next time. Let's no worries, right? So I think that's how I approach the game as a coach and bringing the attitude in there.
Oh, that's great. I love that, man. I really do. I think I think I wish that we were closer because I would love to come watch your guys' games. Because I do have kids that are now coaching,
Come
that I
on.
coached.
Yeah.
I just had a kid. I'm not, no joke. I should pull up his text. He sent me a text. He's married now, right? I went to his wedding and all that. He's
Wow.
married now, and he sent me a text about a month ago, maybe a couple weeks ago, and said, "Hey, coach, just want to let you know I'm coaching now. I'm coaching a
Wow.
church team for basketball, not baseball, but I'm coaching a church team for basketball, I'm really excited about it. And I just want to thank you for all your coaching that you did with me." And I
Come
went,
on.
"Wow, that's awesome, very cool." I said, "But you can't get away with just telling me you're coaching. You have to send me your schedule, kid. Like I
Right.
want to come check you out." Like he's like, "Oh, okay, coach. Yeah, sure. Here you go."
Come
But
on.
it's just cool to see, that carries on when you show that kind of that love and that attitude and instruction to the players the right way, and not,
Yep.
I've seen coaches that berate players. I've seen coaches that are rude to their own kid in front of everybody. I've seen coaches that are
Totally.
screaming across the field. And look, sometimes you do have to yell. Sometimes you do have to, because players can't hear. You need to kind of be a little bit more firm in what your directions are. But
Yeah.
the stuff that I've seen with other coaches would just, if I was a parent, I would rip his head off, right?
For sure.
never
For
wanted
sure.
never wanted to do that as a coach. So I think when I see players like mine transition into adulthood and start to come into something like that where this kid is
Mhm.
coaching, my own son's told me the same thing, that when he gets married and has kids and all that, he wants to coach his kids' teams. And I
Yeah.
think that's a direct reflection of how I was as a coach with them. And
Mhm.
so keep that in mind for you,
Yeah.
Erik, when you're coaching out there. They are watching you, but they're
Yep.
also remembering you. And the things
Mm.
that you do with them, if they carry on with sports as they get older, the things that you do with them now, that's going to transition for them into that adulthood. And maybe they become coaches. Maybe they don't become coaches. Maybe they become a player, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Maybe they go into the pros or something.
Yeah.
But the attitude is everything. I think that's super important. I'm glad you kind of brought that up, and I'm glad we kind of talked about it. And
Yeah.
I do want to give you a minute to address that, and then we'll shift gears a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think what a cool thing to be able to see them go on and move on, and congratulations to you, man, for seeing that kid that you coached go on to coach and get those messages. That's got to be a cool feeling for you. I think when it comes to coaching, like, and especially discipline, because I've seen the coaches that yell, and especially that yell at their own kids, and I'm like, no way, I would tear their heads off, just like you said. Um, I think the most craziness that I get, and it's more of a funny thing, is when we're warming up, I tell the kids, I'm like, look, here's the deal. You hit your guy in the chest or you do a push-up. If you throw it overthrow or you throw it in the dirt, you're going down and you're doing a push-up. And man, the parents just laugh because their kids are out there doing push-ups every time they do a bad throw. And I'm like, they're going to learn to hit their kid in the chest so they're not doing push-ups. And I'm like, I just do it as a joke. I'm like, look, hit him in the chest or you're doing a push-up. And be honest about it. And sure enough, I look down the line, they got 4 different kids doing push-ups, So it's all about attitude, having fun with it, man. And I think that just translates into off the field mentality too.
You remind me so much of me when I was coaching, because I did the same thing. If they goofing off, if they
Yeah.
weren't performing the way they're supposed to or know how to, right? If you don't know how to, that's one thing. But if you know
Right.
how to and you're not doing it, then we have to fix that, right?
Yep.
So I used to do the same thing. And I remember a Saturday, it was blazing hot out. And I remember Saturday, I said, guys, 4 of you right here, you guys are not doing what we're supposed to be doing right now. Give me push-ups. And they were down there in the
Yeah.
dirt in the infield doing push-ups. I have a picture of it. It's so funny.
Come on.
but
That is awesome.
yeah, but it's that's great that you have that kind of relationship, not only with them, but with the parents. That says a lot,
Yeah.
that they trust you,
Yeah.
respect you. And that goes a long ways. You need parents like that to be on your side to support you. So that's
For sure.
awesome. I love the fact that you're coaching. I just love going back down memory lane for me. So thank you for taking me there. I had a lot of
Yeah.
fun with that, but I do want to transition a little bit because you
Yeah.
talked about, for you, your podcast now has kind of shifted gears a little bit, where you're talking about
Mhm.
men and their faith and how they've grown into their faith over the years. Um,
Yeah.
let's address it with you, because I think that's
Sure.
a curious topic for. Yeah, I mean, obviously I've shared my story with you, but I want to hear your story. What's your testimony, and how is your relationship with Jesus over the last, say, year or two really developed or grown?
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, like you said, we discussed my story on the first time I was on the show, but really came from that broken home and found myself just at the bottom of the barrel and surrendering my life to Jesus when I, gosh, 19 years ago now. But just waking up after a night of partying and surrendering my life to Jesus. And I think when we're in this relationship with Jesus, we don't always feel like Jesus is right there. Sometimes we're in a valley. And but I think in those moments where we're in the valley, if we just continue to go, all right, God's just with me, He's teaching me something, or I'm learning something here, what right now. Like for me, that's where I've been. I mean, I've been a full-time employee for all my entire career. I've never been a full-time entrepreneur, but I've always had entrepreneurial side hustles and things. But then December of last year, I got laid off from my job along with
Mhm.
500 other people. And it was one of those moments where I had to come downstairs to tell my wife, I'm like, hey, we don't have an income for, after a couple more months. They gave me a couple months severance, and she's like, okay, well, we'll just go with it and God will take care of us, no problem. And I've never had an issue throughout this whole time that God wasn't going to provide. God's always provided. And my relationship with Jesus over the last year has been, really drawing close to him in the morning. It's super important for me. The non-negotiable for me is when I get into the office, I'm immediately grabbing my Bible. I turn on worship. I spend some time in prayer. And then I just started reading the Bible again. Like I hadn't read it all the way through for many, many years. And I just started reading it about a month ago, just from Genesis 1. And to just get back into the Old Testament and read through that, I feel like that time has really made a difference. That now the time with my personal relationship with Jesus also is my wife and I and kids, we haven't found a church in our area, and we've lived here for 9 years, that we really felt comfortable at. And it was just interesting. This Sunday, we went to a new church that my wife came up with. I was like, I was trying to find a new church. She goes, hey, we haven't tried this one yet. And we went there, and it just felt right.
Hmm.
Like it was one of those churches where it was like, and people get kind of weirded out about Holy Spirit movement and stuff like that. And we got in there, and there was just an older gentleman who used to be a pastor. He's talking about miracles that have happened in front of him and the Holy Spirit, man. And it just felt good. And I was like, man, I believe that God's moving in this building and God is doing something in our lives right now. And so, man, for me, the last year has just been really going, all right, God, I'm relying on you. Good, bad days, whatever. I'm relying on you. I know that you always provide. I've never had fear that he wasn't. And man, here we are today and still just doing amazing things. And only because of God. I wouldn't be here because of my own efforts for sure.
Hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And first of all, I'm sorry that that happened to you. I know that can be a struggle when you get those news of the news of hey, we've got to let you go. We're cutting down
Yeah.
on staffing, and we got to let you go. I'm really sorry, but here's 2 months of pay, and good luck to you.
Right. Yeah.
And the company moves on, and you
Yep.
don't, and it's
Right.
a struggle. For me, I've been at the same, at the same bank now for 27 years. And
Come on.
if they ever came to me and said, "Hey, we're going to have to let you go," yeah, I mean, it'd be something that I would worry about. It would financially, it would be something that I would worry about. But God, I look up to you because your relationship with Jesus and your trust in him is remarkable because I don't know that I could have done what you did. Meaning, I
Mm.
don't know that I could have just accepted what you and your wife said, okay, God will take care of us. I don't know that I could have done that in that
Yeah.
situation. I would have been like panicked. I would have been like, okay, I have to start hitting the pavement and finding another job like now. Like I don't have
Right.
any time. Like this is how I got to get a job today, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
and if it didn't happen, I think I'd worry. I think I'd panic more. Um,
Yeah.
for you guys, you and your wife, the fact that your
Mhm.
wife said that to you is awesome. Okay, number one. Number
Yeah.
two, the fact that you trusted her and trusted him, meaning Jesus, is awesome. But how does that connection between what she said and what you're doing with your love for Jesus, how does that reflect on your kids? I'm really curious
Mm.
because I'm sure that they've probably noticed it. I'm sure they've probably seen a little bit of a transition with you. How has that
Yeah.
gone with your kids?
It's been interesting. We haven't told my kids that I got laid off. I got laid off in December, and it was one of those moments where I was like, okay, my job now is to get a job, right? And so I was applying like crazy. Actually applied at over 400 jobs
Mm,
since December, and I've gotten 3 callbacks. It's very, very interesting in the job market, and still believing that God's going to provide. Now, a good buddy of mine brought me on to work for him the last month, and it's a temp role. It's not paying a ton, but it's kind of a crazy job, but it's paying more than I was on unemployment, and but still trying to do that. But during this time, it was just interesting. My kids just thought I was working regular, working for Perfection, working for the company I used to work for, and so it was just interesting. But the attitude that they've seen me is just like I've always worked remote, so I've worked home since 2015, so it was no difference from them physically to
got it.
see me. um and I still go up to the office every day and I still come down when I need a break, and things like that. And so they didn't really see a difference. In fact, they still don't know that I haven't really transitioned out into a different work at this time. um it, Not that we didn't want to tell them, we just didn't want I didn't want to bring any fear for them, right? And so I've just always had this good attitude of saying, all right, God, we're going to continue to work, continue to look, continue to make connections and reach out and see where I can help in my expertise. But I think in that moment, my kids get to see my wife and I having conversations sometimes. Some of it's coded, but like talking about like, hey, we've got to start doing something else to try to get this money coming in, or we've got to figure out this, or we've got this going on. And I think they've seen my attitude go, all right, I am so determined. I'm putting in a little bit later on the nights, a little bit early in the morning. And I'm early riser anyways, but they see me kind of working a little bit more because I'm kind of putting in an extra effort, extra time to kind of get that extra income coming in. But it's been good, man. And my kids, we went to that new church this weekend. They loved it. And so it just felt right for all four of us. And I truly believe that that's a door opening for all four of us to draw close to not only Jesus, but to each other and to a community that we haven't been in before.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love the fact you guys are, being diligent, not only in trying to make sure that the household stays relatively neutral, right? Nothing
Yep.
really changing in the household, but
Yep.
also you guys are really trying to help your family in general get stronger in your faith and trying to find the right church. The fact that you've been there 9 years and don't have a church to go to is crazy to me because
It's wild.
now I know you're in a little smaller area and kind of a little bit more remote in some of the areas that you live, but
Yeah.
it's still, I mean, churches are everywhere.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that you've done a lot of watching churches online, that kind of
Yep.
thing, to account for not being able to find one. But Yeah, we've done that too, and there have been moments, especially over the last, maybe 4 or 5 years, where we've stayed with a church for, maybe a year or so, and then it seems like, something kind of changes with the pastor, something the kind of message doesn't feel right anymore, so then we have to switch again. And we've
Yep,
done
that's
that
where we're at
now.
too.
Yeah, we've done that now a couple of times in the last maybe 5 years. We've literally changed churches, I think, 3 times in the last 5 years. And you know what? That's okay. Because it's not about finding the right church. It's about finding a church that sends me the right message for my relationship with Jesus. That's what it's
Yeah,
about to me. And if I
yeah,
can relate to what that pastor's saying, and I can relate to how the people are in that congregation, if I can relate with that, then I'm in. Then I'm stuck.
hmm,
I'm not going anywhere. This is where I want to be. This is where I want to live. This is where I want to, breathe and pray and all those things, right? So,
yep,
but the second that changes, we have to, it's time to go.
yep,
Um, so I think that's great that you guys are just trying to stay neutral in the stuff that you're doing, and then talking code, obviously.
yeah,
My wife and I do that too, but my boys are in their
yeah,
20s, you know what I mean? So,
right.
so they probably know what I make. I mean,
Sure,
they use the same CPA that I use, so they probably know what I make.
right.
But all that kind of stuff is, goes out the window when they're pretty much adults. We just talk
Yeah.
about stuff like, hey, you know what? I need to do this, and we need to get this. We need to take care of this. They're adults, so they can handle it.
Yep.
How about your daughter? How's she doing?
She's doing good. Yeah. So she's 14, man. And I think she's in just a new season of life of, where she's starting to wear makeup, right, more.
Oh,
But
hold on, Dad. Buckle up.
right. Ah, man. Yeah, it's a new season of life for sure. But I love her attitude, man. She just loves people and loves little kids. So loves to go out and just play with little kids and help them. And we have some friends that have younger kids. And so she's always connected with them and playing with them. Um, so she's doing really well. And even, going to the church and like waking up and just she loves, watching movies and things like that. And so her attitude right now is like, it's good. Like, of course, like teenager, there's going to be some attitude days where we kind of have to make some adjustments and maybe talk a little bit more stern, right? Like that's going to happen. But yeah, it's just really cool season that we're in right now to see the growth from both my daughter and my son, and just as a family. And my wife, she's amazing where she'll start every day during the school year, and we homeschool. Just last year was our first year doing homeschool. But really the start of the day is the first hour and a half is just them deep diving into the Bible and reading it together. And my wife's an amazing person of Bible knowledge and has a really good way of telling stories that it can relate to our kids, man. And so it's just fun to see them growing in their faith through that. And really, because I'm working so much, my wife is the one that's really implementing that in the morning. And of course, we pray together as a family and things like that. But it's really my wife's teaching in the morning, I would say, that's building that foundation.
That's awesome. Good for her, man. That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's great. I mean, you guys are both home. You guys are both able to be home. I mean, you guys are all together
Yeah.
throughout the whole day. All right. So
Yeah.
let's shift gears again, because now you
Yeah.
guys are all together throughout the whole day, every single day. And we know
Yeah.
the dynamics between, a husband and wife that spend all day long together, every single day together. They do need breaks. And then we
Totally.
know we have kids that are in the teenage years or preteen years, and they are constantly together and constantly around each other and spending all day together and all these sorts of things, right? I'm talking
Yep.
about you guys, you four are together 24/7. Doesn't matter what's going on. You guys are pretty much together. So now,
Yep.
how do you guys deal with those challenges when you've got that? Hey, you and your wife are just not seeing eye to eye on something. Hey, I need a break. I need a breather. I need to go somewhere. I need to just get out. I need to just do something. I need a break.
Yeah.
How do you guys
Yeah.
handle that? How do you guys handle that? Because I'm sure it happens.
Oh, totally. Totally, man. I mean, especially this year with her homeschooling, right? And so I work remote. My office is upstairs above the garage. So I do have to go downstairs to go to the bathroom, get coffee or whatnot. And so, there's times where I go downstairs to get coffee during the school year. And obviously, they're not doing school so much right now during the summer, but there'd be times where I'd go downstairs to get coffee or get breakfast, and I eat different time at different times, right? So I'll sneak down there and I'm trying to be quiet and open something up, and it just makes a loud noise. And then all of a sudden I'll hear my wife stop talking, right? And I'll peek around the corner and they're all just staring at me going, like, because I interrupted the school day, right? So definitely we had to make those adjustments where I'm like, I got to be more quiet. I got to be prepared more stuff, right? Like I'm trying not to interrupt her. And she is literally home all day teaching them and then doing cooking and things like that. And so she knows that I'm an early riser. So I'll go meet up with buddies for a coffee in the early morning, 5 a.m., 6 a.m., whatever, and go grab coffee with those guys. That's kind of my time away. But in the evening, she's a night person. So, hey, you want to go have a date night with your girlfriend, or, go out and grab coffee with somebody like that. Like I've just told her since day one, since we've been married, like, you ever want to go out with some friends, go do it. I'm never going to tell you not to. Like you need your time. And so go and do that. And so we've kind of had that open, sort of style of, hey, if we don't have anything booked as a family and you want to go out and have some fun, or you just need a break, you need to go to the grocery store, or you need to go to the park or whatever, like, just tell me and I'll just, hey, cool, I can take care of the kids. No big deal. And so we've had that schedule pretty well set up. And my wife just knows, hey, I'm going out with this person this week, or I'm going out with this person tonight. Cool. All right. We'll see you when you get back. And my kids, they definitely are hanging around each other all day long, but they have some nice breaks where my son wants to go outside and jump on the trampoline or play baseball. My daughter might be in reading or doing, even at 14, they still, I would say, they're best friends. It's just cool to see them be best friends, but they build Lego cities together. We have massive amounts of Legos in this house. So it's cool to just see them doing things together. And then, of course, they need the break. And of course, there's some arguments sometimes, but I think it's about making time for them to take those breaks. So even during the school year, they might have a little bit of a recess. My son needs to get outside and get some energy out, or my daughter wants to go read, or she'll go downstairs and, down to hang out in the basement for a bit, where we've got some other stuff going on down there. So, yeah, man, it's just about making time throughout the day so that we can have those breaks, that solo time, because it makes it stronger when we come back.
Yeah, absolutely. So good. So good, man. I love that your kids are best friends. I love the stuff that they're doing together and taking the breaks and doing their own thing as
Yeah.
individuals as well. And I love the fact that they're into Legos. I don't know if you've seen my Lego collection, but when I get to the office, I will take a
Yeah.
picture of my Lego collection. You're going to be like, what in the world is this guy doing? Because
Come on.
I have the stuff everywhere. Right now, I'm in the middle of building a Pac-Man machine. The Pac-Man game. It's like a miniature game. I'm like
Yeah.
three-quarters done with it. And then I have a Lamborghini Countach that's on its way that I ordered from Lego just
No
this last
way.
week. Literally it's like this big. It's a Lamborghini. I'm like, oh, I've got to get that. So I have literally boxes in my office here up on the shelf here of just empty boxes of Legos that I put together. And my wife's like, why are you keeping all those boxes? I'm like, are you kidding? If
Yeah.
I decide to take them apart and I want to get rid of them, they appreciate in value. I want to be able to sell them. And so I got to have
Yeah.
all the pieces, and I got to have the boxes, and I have to have the instructions and all that stuff. So I'm not getting rid of those boxes. She's like, oh my gosh. So anyways, that's awesome that your kids are into Legos. I know I just went on a little sidebar. I just got
No,
excited when you said Lego. I just went, woo.
I'll tell you, we went down to Lego Land in last year, and it was so cool to just be there. And it was probably our last year being at Legoland. It's more tailored to probably 12 and under, but it was cool. We went into the Lego store though, and man, I've never seen so many kids melting down and throwing fits in a store than the Lego store. Like one kid was absolutely crazy crying, slamming stuff on the floor. And it was all because he wanted his brother to get his own Lego set. He did not want to share it. And the mom was like, I'm buying you this one. Like you just have to share it. And it was awesome. But Legos will cause fights if you don't do it right.
Yeah. And Legos cost money. They are
So
expensive.
much, dude.
Oh my gosh, they're expensive. Yeah, the Lamborghini I just bought was almost $200. And I
Oh
think that
man.
Pac-Man
Yeah.
machine was almost 300. And I actually didn't, my boys actually bought that for me for Father's Day, believe it or not. They bought
Oh,
me that
that's
Pac machine.
awesome.
But well, cool. I know for you parents out there that are watching, he and I have a really good connection, and we just like to jibber jabber about different stuff. But I'm
Yeah.
hoping that kind of, some of the stuff that we talked about today, you got out of this as far as how we act as parents, not only as parents, but if you're coaching your kids, and then how we act as a family together when we're all in the house together, doing our own thing, or trying to work together as a team.
Yeah.
But I think it's remarkable how you've not only transitioned your acceptance of life where you're at now in your stage of life, but you've transitioned into that acceptance of, okay, Jesus is gonna guide me, gonna protect us, and I'm gonna trust in him, and I'm gonna go with it and do what he wants me to do. That you've done that is remarkable. The fact that you're still coaching your kid when you're going through something, that is tough, trying to find a job and all that stuff, you're still focusing on coaching your son is awesome. And just the fact that you and your wife have a good, solid relationship, and that when you want to, guys can be together and do the things together as a family, and you guys know when you all need your own separate time. And
Yeah.
I just want to commend you for that, and say, keep doing what you're doing, brother. And I want to give you an opportunity. I know I did that on the first one, but I want to do it again on the second one. I want to give you an opportunity to let my listeners and viewers know where they can look you up, find you, all that kind of good stuff.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Yeah, dude, I love our conversations, man. They're so much fun, man. Yeah, so ErikAllenMedia.com. It's ErikAllen media.com. I'm probably most active on Instagram. It's just Erik, again, Erik, and then G Allen is my handle on there. And I respond to every comment, and I respond to every DM that comes my way. I love connecting with new people. But my podcast, The Erik Allen Show, drops every Friday at 7 a.m. Pacific, and it's on all formats from video and audio, etc. But man, I love the conversation here that we had. And I guess the one tip I'll throw out there is the one thing that we did for our kids is, and they still don't. My daughter's 14. We've not allowed them to have phones. I don't think that they need phones at 10 years old and 11 years old. They don't even have access to the iPad or computer unless they ask us. Like, we'll give them permission to go watch a show, on Friday or Saturday night. But we've basically said, hey, there's more to life than looking at a screen. Go find things, Legos, reading, putting things together, drawing, art, go outside. We wanted to raise them how we were raised, without screens, right? And so I think that's made a big difference in their attitude toward life, of just saying, man, I want to go out and have fun. I don't need a screen in front of me. And that's helped me a ton.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing where people can connect with you. Listen, he's very active on social media, especially on Instagram. So he's right. He does respond to all the comments, and he does respond to DMs. Unless you send him a weird DM, he's probably not going to respond to that. But
Totally.
if you got questions, maybe you need some help with your media stuff and want to reach out to him. Maybe you just have a question. He will be more than happy to help you out. Trust me, he's
Totally.
very knowledgeable in what he does, and he's very helpful as well. I know he's helped me over the years with different things as well. So you guys, please reach out to him. Please make sure you're following him. And I'll make sure to put all his links in the show notes. But Erik, listen, man, thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for sharing your time. And thank you for being you, the dad you are, the husband you are, and the faith follower that you are. I appreciate the friend that you are, and I'm looking forward to continuing our relationship as we go along in the next phase of our lives.
Absolutely, brother. Truly an honor, man. Thank you.
Guys, it's been another episode of Dad Up. I want to thank again my good friend Erik Allen for being on the show. Please do me a favor. If you've come across this episode and you're starting to watch it, this is second episode. So go back to maybe a couple years and watch the first one, and then come back and watch this one and see the transition from who he was then to who he is now. It's going to be amazing. You're going to love it. But make sure you watch the first one, then the second one. But listen, make sure you're subscribed to his show. His show drops every Friday. He always loves getting new followers, new subscribers. Same thing with me. If you're not subscribed to my show, you're going to miss out on all the opportunities of seeing all the different guests that I have on that come on each and every week. And I just want to acknowledge you. Thank you for being here. And as always, I look forward to seeing you all on the next episode of Dad Up. Wow, another amazing episode in the books. So much was shared, and I'm truly grateful my guest was able to pour into you to help you elevate your dad game and really dad up. Make sure you bang that subscribe button so you don't miss a single episode. And while you're here, please don't forget to leave me a rating and a review. I always appreciate the feedback. And one last thing, don't forget, your role as a dad is one of the most important roles you have. So if you need a little help or have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me on my website at daduptribe.com or at my Instagram page at Dad Up Podcast. Until next time, everyone, Dad Up.